Tell you what I've particularly enjoyed about working on this textbook is something very similar to what I've enjoyed about teaching freshmen. Because teaching at this introductory level and writing a textbook for students that gives them their first really substantial introduction to the subject compels you to think in a really discriminating and synthesizing way about what are the really important things that students need to learn. You have to boil it down to a level where they can ingest it and really retain it. You have to do it in a way that engages them and interests them. You can't just assume their interest. You have to really create it and sustain it. The American Pageant 16th edition provides students with many different points of access into the great historical story of the American people. It gives instructors many different hooks on which to hang their own approaches to the story. So I think it will prove useful to a lot of different instructors, a lot of different instructional styles, and a lot of different students' ways of learning. Not all students learn the same way by any means, and we're very conscious of that and try to give them many different points of entry into the subject. It has certain characteristics, an appealing and engaging writing style, an emphasis on a clear narrative line, and accessible ways for students and instructors to really take the material on board in an analytic way, not just a memorizing way, and to provide many different features in the book that allow students and instructors to access the main story through many different avenues depending on their own tastes and their own patterns and ways of learning and instructing.
It's chronological in organization. We believe that students need to understand how events unfolded, and to really understand change over time, you have to really experience it as people did.
The biggest change in the 16th edition is the very thorough and deep rewriting we did of the entire last 1/6 of the book, the part that deals with the post-1945 period, the most recent period of American history.
We've also developed a feature we call Thinking Globally. And the reason for this feature is that it's very easy to think about the United States in isolation. The primary way that American historians have in the past thought about the United States in relationship to the rest of the world has been around diplomatic history. So the idea is that we will show students what is unique about the United States and what actually is very consistent with other nations.
Another feature that we added in this new 16th edition, of which we're also very proud, it's called Contending Voices, and it appears in every single chapter of the book, where we have tried to identify two people, in each case, who took different sides of whatever issue was at issue in that particular historical moment. And again, what we're trying to get the students to understand is a lot of things about how history as it's lived and experienced and as it's remembered and written is always contentious terrain. People don't necessarily agree about everything. And sometimes those disagreements are very sharp. Sometimes they lead even to the ultimate disagreement, which I suppose is civil war, which is a big part of the American story. Because of the technology of the 21st century, we now have direct access to internet and dynamic and interactive features that the book will direct students to. So just the visual presentation of the subject and the way that serves to engage students and excite their passion for history is something that's a product of modern day printing and internet technologies that we should be grateful for.